Hey, there's the music that means it's time for Animal Talk. Some of the best doggone pet people on the planet, helping you with your pets, having some fun along the way. I'm Jamie Flanagan, and a little business to take care of. First, we have to thank you and just say thank you for coming along for the ride. We always love having people here for the party, and it's always a party with Animal Talk. So thank you. Do all those podcast things in all those podcast places. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that stuff. We genuinely, truly appreciate it. Then, if you could tell a couple of friends, all the better. So, thank you for joining us, telling your friends, and doing that. I get a little anxious when we have guests. I get a little wound up, and there's remedies for that. There's remedies for your dogs for that, and there's remedies for me for that. It's a nice, cool beverage. Is that what that is? No, it's not a good remedy for anything really. But if you have a dog and they get anxious like me, there's a remedy, and it's called Brave Paws. And we are going to be talking to Dr. Shannon. Dr. Shannon, welcome to Animal Talk.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to talk to you and your listeners.
All right, Dr. Shannon Gregoire, right? So there we
go. Yes, you got it.
It scared me. All right, we're sticking with Dr. Shannon from here on out, because that gives me anxiety. Big time. So just getting people. I teach high school during the week.
And, awesome.
Well, not during this week because it's summer.
Oh, that's right. You have summer vacation.
Generally speaking, and like one of my anxiety days at school is like September 1st, because there's a whole new list of kids' names that I'm gonna get wrong. You just feel so bad, and it's like they're like, oh, it's cool, you can call me whatever. It's like, no, you're lying. It matters to you. Not what you wrote in little bubbles on your notebook. It matters to you. And so it's
right.
But they don't want to make me feel bad, or they're timid or whatever. Anyhow, but it does give me anxiety. And we're talking about dogs and anxiety and a product called Brave Paws. And we might, Dr. Shannon, actually get around to talking about that. But there's a lot of other stuff to talk about first. So I'm sure the Brave Paws peoples are super excited about that. But nonetheless, no, before we do that, before we dive into that, Dr. Shannon, tell me about your childhood.
My childhood. Well, I grew up on a farm. So, my first job when I was 8 years old was selling eggs to family and friends. And I got to keep that money, which was fantastic. So I was a little a business owner when I was 8, and that really got my love for animals going as well. Caring for the little chickens, watching them grow up, and being able to then feed my family and our friends with their eggs, which was awesome. I also grew up riding horses, and we had a dog and a cat. So I was always surrounded by so many animals that I think that's why I became a veterinarian.
See, there you go. So here you go. What was your first pet? What was your first pet that was your first pet? Not necessarily the family first pet, but what was your first pet?
My first pet of my own, that's not a family pet, was, well, I guess it was my horse when I was younger, because she was really mine, even though she lived with the family. But I do have a dog now. I adopted a dog named Daisy. She is from a rescue, and I just got her a couple months ago, and she's really warming up great. So I'm really excited to see how she blossoms even further.
Right. Who rescued who, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you, an entrepreneur from an early age, an animal lover from an early age. And I think those two things here in Detroit, there's a lot of animal rescues, and there's a lot of amazing entrepreneurs doing some amazing things to help animals. And I think that's a big part of, because vets, I mean, when a lot of times you're launching your own business, it's becoming more and more corporate as the world turns. But a vet practice was really more of an entrepreneurial venture. And you seem like quite the entrepreneur, and you're like a
Thank you.
podcasting queen. How many?
I'm
I
very
thought
busy.
I thought I was on a lot of podcasts. I got 3. So I got the Animal Talk. I do the Man Cave Happy Hour. We got another one called Detroit City of Champions. I can bore you with all of those. But Animal Talk we've been doing for since the mid '90s, and it was a radio. We were on terrestrial radio and on like 50 stations forever, and radio has changed and communications has changed and broadcasting has changed. And here we are having tons of fun doing podcasts. But how many podcasts are you on?
So I have 2. Okay. So the first podcast.
2? How lazy.
Only 2. I know. I should have 5 by now.
All right. So the first one.
So the first one is called Vet Candy IRL. So for anyone that works in the veterinary community, that's more targeted towards them and different struggles that we go through and different professionals concerning finances or work-life balance and stuff along that line that pertains to our professional work life. And then we have Simply Pets, which is for all my pet owners and pet lovers out there for all your different pet concerns. We go through things like anxiety, new animals, how to integrate animals, what to think about when adopting versus purchasing a puppy. All your animal questions will be answered there.
I like it. So are you driving the ship on these, or do you have a team that you work with?
Yeah, so I work with Vet Candy, and they host both the podcasts. So I work with them to get guests on the show that our followers are interested in hearing from, or that we think are doing amazing, cool things in either space, and we bring them to our listeners and share the information.
All right. What's your favorite guest so far?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can play favorites like that.
I know. Yeah. So I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
All right.
What was some of your? What are a couple highlights? 1 or 2 highlights that is like I really enjoyed, and I found out something about this person I didn't know.
Yeah, I think my 2 favorite episodes was I had Dr. Evan Anton on, and he is a veterinarian out in Southern California, but he also does a lot of work in Africa and different parts of the country with conservation of wildlife. So he goes on these amazing trips, and they tag and trap and release animals, and kind of track populations and help with that kind of stuff all over the world. So that was an amazing episode to hear all his stories. I just want to go on one of his expositions sometime. Would be amazing.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm just going to name drop like crazy, but we just my couple of my favorites that I've had. We just had Carol Baskins on not too long ago.
No way.
I know. I was ready for like this bag of crazy, right? So there's this Washington focus group, Animal Welfare Action or something, and they're lobbying for big cat legislation, and Carol was there helping them lobby for big cat legislation. And the one guy, Marty Irby, wanted to be on, and I'm like, "Well, you can come on again," because we had just had him on about horses. I go, "But you got to bring Carol. But you got to bring Carol with you." He's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" I was kidding.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think he'd get her. And so she came on. So but she wasn't like crazy town like I thought she would be. She was actually, it was the whole. It's quite the misrepresentation the show.
Oh, TV. So the media plays it up a little bit.
Misrepresentation on TV? Are you kidding me? Reality TV. But another very, very, we had a comedian, Kevin Meaney, on, which was amazing. And but my favorite one was George Plimpton. This cat named George Plimpton. He was like a participatory journalist, and he wrote a crazy book. It's Letters to Dr. Rolf, and there were this Dr. Rolf, a veterinarian, goes missing, and all his patients, all his animals, are writing letters to him, telling him how great he was and how much they miss him and where is Dr. Rolf. And but George Plimpton is like he had the best pipes ever. He was like, and then something I found out was that because he went to college with Robert Kennedy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so he was on the tour, and he was like a speechwriter and working with Robert Kennedy. And when Bobby Kennedy got shot, he was there, and it was him and Rosie Greer who tackled Sirhan in the kitchen.
Wow.
I know. I didn't know that about him. I was like, oh my God. I was like freaky. So, but the dude, he was such a great guy, and
Mm.
just the best voice. And he was reading passages from his books, and that
Oh,
was
that's so cool.
it was the coolest thing. That's my little name dropping spree and a brag there.
Yeah, those are some good ones.
All right, more about me, Dr. Shannon. No, teasing about you. What
Mm.
sort of practice are you involved in? Are you practicing regularly? Are you working in a clinic? What does your practice? What's your daily vet work look like for you right now?
Yeah, so my life on the daily right now, I work for a small, independent small animal clinic in Woodstock, Connecticut called Woodstock Veterinary Clinic.
Hey,
And I've been working there since I graduated, and I'm really loving it there so far.
right on. So I'm
Hmm.
going to name drop more, right? So Dr. Brad, the vet on our show, that was when we were on the radio. One
Yep.
of his interns, um,
Mm.
Kitten, when she graduated from MSU, she went on and I DJ'd her wedding right as she graduated, and
No way.
she went on to work for Dr. Pol. Um,
Oh, yep.
yeah. So she's on Dr. Pol's show. It's like, I did her wedding.
Right.
And so
That's so cool.
we'd always be at Dr. Brad's clinic, and she's super. It's so cool to see her doing fun stuff. See, I told you I'd be name dropping
Yeah,
like
it's a small
crazy,
world, you're only one or two people away from everybody else in the veterinary community.
right? Isn't it?
Mhm.
But so all right, but so how did you through your podcast? How did you get involved
Mhm.
with the podcast, and how did that bring you in connection with? Yep, we're gonna get to it finally. Brave Paws. I told you we may or may not get to it.
I know, may or may not, may
All
just
right. So
brush
how did you
over
get
it.
into the podcast, and how did that bring you to Brave Paws?
Yeah, so well, it was COVID. COVID happened, and we all were sent home, and trapped at home for a little while. And the Vet Candy CEO, Dr. Jill Lopez, reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to be my intern this summer?" And I said, "Absolutely. That sounds like a lot of fun." So I was writing articles for the website. I was helping her with the magazines and the CE and the social media, and we got along really well. And a couple months later, after that had finished, she reached out again and said, "Hey, do you want to run a podcast with me?" And I said, "Sure." I've never done that before, but I sure can learn. So it's been quite a journey, learning to be on social media all the time and on podcast platforms. And it was definitely a skill I learned as I went. And if you listen to the first couple episodes and then listen to the ones more recently, they're completely different, because I was so nervous at the beginning. Like, I had no idea, how to really, respond or control, a conversation that was just on a podcast platform. So it really helped with my conversation skills, and, developing, how I talk with the podcast has helped in the clinic. So it's been really great, personal development, as well as so much fun bringing all that awesome information to pet owners and my colleagues.
Right. So, and Brave Paws being one of the sponsors, and
Hmm.
the objective of Brave Paws is to help with
Hmm.
dog anxiety. But before we find the cure or find some help with Brave Paws, how do you really know if your dog is anxious? Can you really tell an anxious dog? I mean, it's not like you put the little collar on. It's like, I'm anxious, like on
Hmm.
up. The dog's not going to tell you.
Yeah, well, the biggest reason that animals are, unfortunately turned over to, pounds or shelters and, things like that, is because of behavior issues. For one thing or another, something is too much for that family, and they say, this dog doesn't do well in our household, and they have to give them up, which is extremely unfortunate. And a lot of those behaviors that we perceive as negative often come from a place of fear and anxiety in dogs that don't understand their environment. They don't understand, because of past trauma or whatever it might be that they experience, that gives them this fear inside that we don't always perceive correctly. And it's something that I try to work with my clients on identifying, that excessive barking or tearing up the house or urinating, defecating where they're not supposed to, or lashing out and undesired behaviors, all can come back to anxiety and fear in dogs. And that is where this supplement called Brave Paws can help some pets with that.
So yeah, it's just I full disclosure, I'm a cat guy. So I'm a cat guy. I love
Yeah.
dogs, but I love dogs.
Mhm.
But my wife is the dog person. I'm more the
Yeah.
cat person. But we love them both. We love them both. And
Mhm.
but it's like barky dogs. Oh my gosh, my brother has this, I don't know, some sort of terrier, something or other, and they're just barky, and it is like
Mm.
it's just such a barky dog, and it's like it's unnerving to me. It's like, well, like I said, I
Mm.
teach high school, so my nerves are shot. I'm walking around on pins and needles all the time. I think I need a little Brave Paws. So it's like as this barky dog, I just
Mm.
can't do it. It would make it would it I would, I never would. I mean, you get too attached to it. But I say I'd be like, if that was my dog, he'd be right to the pound. That's why I would leave his house. The thing's been yapping at me for 2 hours. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that dog would be so in the pound if it was mine. But if it was mine, he would probably be relaxed and happy,
Mm.
and not a barky dog. It's
Yeah,
okay.
and all
My
the
brother
breeds have
doesn't
different
listen to this.
personalities, so it's yeah, definitely research the dog before you get it
Yeah.
because there are some breeds that are just way more talkative than others. Like personally, I love huskies, but I love them as other people's pets because I know how they sing and they scream, and that's just not something that I personally want, but they are beautiful and so much fun.
All right, so how does because we're and another big thing for dogs and
Mm.
anxiety is fireworks, and we're in the middle
Mhm.
of fireworks season because it runs from New Year's Eve to well, we're in America now, so New Year's Eve. It's like people blow off fireworks all year round now. It's
Mhm.
nuts. It's like I don't. We're Detroit, Michigan area here,
Oh, yeah.
and fireworks. When I was a kid, back in the day when I was a kid, you had to drive down to Tennessee
Before
to
I
get
was
your
born? No.
fireworks. Yeah, you had to drive to Kentucky. You had to get past the Ohio border before you were getting fireworks.
Mm.
Now it's like every corner there's a tent set up, and people are launching off fire. It's Saturday. It's a graduation party. It's Fourth
Right.
of July month. And New
Mhm.
Year's Eve and Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm like, seriously, it's Thanksgiving. You're blowing off fireworks.
Yeah.
Um, but fireworks, and again, for people who've served in the military,
Mm.
I have a few friends that they're like, man, it's just, would people knock it off? Because it's just unsettling, and it's unsettling
Mhm.
to the pets. So how does
Yeah.
Brave Paws um, come into play to help? Is that a behavior, and is that something Brave Paws can help with? What does Brave Paws do? I just asked you 6 questions. Go,
Yeah.
Anna.
All right, so we'll try to answer all of those questions in
All right, all
order.
right, all right.
So that is anxiety related to loud noises, so some sort of auditory anxiety, and that can be from thunderstorms, it can be from fireworks, it can be, when a big truck backfires on the road and lets out that big boom, and your dog kind of freaks out. So, um, anxiety like that's triggered by noise. If you know oh, someone's having a party or it's a 4th of July or I know a storm is coming, and you can prepare them for that in a productive way, like giving them an anxiety relieving supplement, that's where Brave Paws comes in. So it has been studied to help relieve the anxiety in dogs. So it provides a calming effect, a plant based calming effect um, that's non drowsy and it's fast acting. And the safety studies have been shown to give doses 5 to 10 times what you'd normally give your dog with no adverse reactions. So it's something that is plant based, it's safe, and we actually use regenerative farming for this supplement as well. So one of the ingredients is called cerubia. So originally, cerubia is a vine from the rainforest, And what they did was when they found this vine, they brought it to Costa Rica and they started to farm it. And they use regenerative farming. So that means the soil is better than when they started using it. And so there's this co-op of 23 families called Cupacuna in Costa Rica, and they farm this vine for Brave Paws to use in their supplement.
Yeah, I
And
saw
then,
that as a note. I'm like, I want to hear about this.
yeah.
Did Brave Paws go out and search this out, or did they go out and did they contract this to them, or did they find them?
So there were researchers looking in the rainforest for different medicinal compounds, and this was one of the ones that they found. And when they saw that it had anxiety relieving properties, Brave Paws looked into it and started researching it and doing studies in animals for anxiety relief.
All right, and this is my tribe. Did you say tribe or group or
Yeah, it's a women-led co-op in
a
Costa
women-led
Rica
co-op?
called
But
Cupacuna.
it's a woman-led co-op,
Hmm.
which is great. So,
Yeah, and it
um,
supports 23 families, so it's really an amazing thing, especially with COVID kind of shutting down another mainstream of income for them, which is tourism. This has been
right.
such a huge help.
Girl power. I like it. I like it.
Mhm.
All right, so it's a plant-based, product,
Mhm.
so and so how does it work? What's happening with this, what's the active ingredient or what's working here?
Yes, so there are ingredients. So the cerubia is one active ingredient, which I talked about in the vines. And then
Mhm,
there's a
mhm.
second active ingredient called platanus, and that comes from the bark of the sycamore tree.
Oh,
So naturally, sycamore trees shed their bark. So no trees are harmed getting the platanus either.
oh, wow, okay, that's, pretty conscientious harvesting.
It is, yes,
The world's so messed up.
I know.
It scares me.
We're trying our best to, help pets and keep the planet healthy.
Sure.
um,
That's it. So being very plant-based,
mhm.
it makes me crazy if it's all natural. I'm like, well, cyanide's natural and, arsenic is
Yep.
natural. You don't wanna be chugging that down.
Mhm.
But being plant-based like that,
Mhm.
is this formulated and geared for just dogs?
Yes, right now it is studied for safety and efficacy in dogs. Yep.
Alright, so you don't wanna when my cat's freaking out, having a bad trip from catnip, I don't wanna give that to him.
Well, the studies are promising in the safety, but we still need to run studies
Okay.
specifically for
So
felines. Yep.
you're looking into the effects for other critters, cats,
Absolutely.
generally speaking. Alright.
Yep.
So how does it
So
work?
yes, we
We talked about how does it work. Is this something that you're like, "Oh, he's gonna be we're it's the 1st of July, we're gonna have fireworks coming up here. It's 3 days out. Do I do how do you when do you have to give these? When is it effective? How quickly does it go to work?"
Yeah, so what's really great is it's non-drowsy, so your pet won't be lethargic or sleepy like some prescription medications.
Slipping him a half a Benadryl and hoping for the best?
Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
I'm
And it's fast acting, so you just give it an hour before the stimulus that's scary, an hour before the fireworks, an hour before the thunderstorm starts, whatever it may be, just 1 hour before, and you give them the chewable.
alright. So if something goes and they're starting to get anxious, you can give them to them. You hopefully within an hour, it'll start helping to calm them. So
Exactly. Within
that's
yep, by an hour, it'll be fully effective, so it'll start working a little bit before then, and then by an hour, it'll reach full potential.
well, that's pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice. And it uses the active ingredient in the platanus and the cerubia is betulinic acid. So those have been shown, along with triterpenes, to have anti-anxiety effects in the clinical research that has been done in dogs.
That's a lot of big words there, doc.
For all my
Um,
science nerds in there that are dying to know exactly how it works.
I'm a no, actually, but, that's my question there. People who are into more holistic and more plant-based and into those type of remedies, they usually are the sort of people that will dive deep down a rabbit hole and do a lot of research. So, what if people want to do a deep dive into Brave Paws and the
Mm.
ingredients? Is that information readily available in the research? Are they able to access that on the website or someplace?
Yes, if you go to mybravepaws.com, it'll link you to all the clinical studies on these plant-based ingredients that we have in the chewable for you to read at your own leisure.
Yeah, because a lot of times the people that dig the holistic stuff, they really dig
Mm.
reading about it and getting into that, diving down the
Yeah,
rabbit holes and going.
absolutely. I always encourage people to do their own research and to ask, ask your veterinarian questions about it, have them look at their research too. And as long as, having all of you on the same page is great. So then when they know what your dog is taking, and if they know that it's doing well for your dog, then they'll even start recommending it to other dogs as well if they see that how well it does for your dog.
Now you said Daisy. Daisy is your fur baby.
She is.
It's what kind of puppy is Daisy?
So she's a mixed breed. I haven't done a DNA test on her yet, but she almost looks like there's a little bit of like shepherd or something in her with her markings. But she's really cute.
I cannot advocate enough for the mixed breed dogs.
Mm.
They usually have the best temperaments. They're usually the best with families and kids, and
Mm.
I just
The hybrid vigor. They
Yeah.
have less incidence of disease when they're just a hodgepodge.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's I gotta I've
Mhm.
with the Bulldog Society, the Detroit Bulldog Rescue, and it's like
Mm.
I have so many friends that are so heavily involved, and they just love love their bulldogs, and I'm like,
Mhm.
those things are broken coming out. It's like they're
They
messed
don't
up
even
day
they don't even
one.
come out naturally. A lot of the
No.
times they require C-sections. Yeah.
Right? So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, it's like you're just buying trouble. It's like, man, oh man, oh man. But they
Definitely
love,
get
love,
pet
love.
insurance. If you have a bulldog, get pet insurance. Even if you don't have a bulldog, you should
Yeah.
probably think about pet insurance. But
Oh,
that's a whole nother topic.
it is. It is. Well, we can have you back and chit chat about pet insurance. But
Yeah.
so Brave Paws, it does it work for every dog? Is it gonna what happens is oh, my dog's still tweaking here. Is it how effective is it?
So, in all the dogs in the study, it showed to relieve anxiety across all different breeds. But as always, there are individual reactions. So, one dog could have, a completely different level of anxiety reduction than a different dog. So, it's always good to be home and watch your dog and see how they respond to it and say, oh, is one chewable enough? So, it's one chewable for every 20 pounds. So if your dog is 20 pounds, they get one chewable, 40 pounds chewable, and so on and so forth. So you just want to make sure that you're there to watch them and see after that hour what difference you can see in them. Are they panting less? Are they, moseying around the house? Are they just looking relaxed and, slow breathing and, cuddling with you? All the things that show you that they're feeling comfortable in their environment are things that you want to see after they take the Brave Paws.
So what about things is there anything you should do in tandem with it? Are there other ways of calming your dog that along with the Brave Paws really help do the trick for your puppy?
Well, you could try things like a thunder shirt. Sometimes, that pressure, almost like a weighted blanket for people.
Hmm.
So, something like that could help if you know that they have a favorite toy or something that helps them distract them from the noise, like filling a toy with peanut butter or giving them their favorite bone, something that gets them really happy and excited also
So
helps.
how's Daisy? Is she a nervous puppy? Is she get anxiety, or is she a trooper and a brave one?
Well, it depends on the situation, but sometimes new things are scary. So we actually ordered a bottle of Brave Paws so that I can see how it works for her as well. And I'm really excited because before I jump to prescription anti-anxiety medications, which for some dogs are necessary, but if I can find something that's plant-based, that's safe, that has shown great efficacy, and the safety studies have been promising, that I'm willing to try that with her. And if that's all I need, then I'm so happy with that.
Right. So I was asking you about whether or not it was, safe. And does the FDA look at pet products? Do they?
So it's the similar to a human nutraceuticals. So
Right.
you look at the safety and efficacy studies that have been done, and so the
Hmm.
safety studies for this particular product have been extremely promising at 5 to 10 times the dose that you give your dog. Those dogs in the study take 5 to 10 times that dose for 28 days with no adverse effects seen thus far.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So anything that we didn't touch on as far as the Brave Cause goes?
I think the
Where do we
last
get them?
thing.
Holy crap! Where do you get these? Where do you
Well,
get these things?
before you get
Oh, yeah,
them,
yeah.
I just
All right.
one more thing was that have you ever heard of giving your dogs Prozac, doggy Prozac?
Oh my
It
God.
it
You're too
takes a
young. You're too young, but it's Saturday Night Live, like old Saturday Night Live. There's a skit. I don't know if you ever saw it, but there was a puppy uppers and doggy downers.
Oh, no, I
This back
haven't.
it was the first crew, like Jane Curtin and Gilda Radner, and
I'll have to
uh,
look it up.
so puppy uppers, doggy downers. Yeah, and it's hilarious. It's wildly inappropriate and drug infused. So I'm sorry I cut you off. Well, what were you saying about
No,
giving
no.
about Prozac and
Um, so that is one of the common anti-anxiety medications in dogs, but with that one, you have to do a loading dose, and it takes, weeks to months to actually see the effects in your dog. So in the meantime, it can be extremely stressful and unrewarding. So what's great about Brave Paws and what's different is that right when you give it, it's effective on that dose. You don't have to do a loading dose. You don't have to wait. You can use it up to 3 times a day, completely fine. And it's something that'll work for your pet when you need it to work for your pet. You don't have to wait weeks or months for you to see a difference.
oh my God, and like Prozac and like I said, I'm like a high school teacher. It's like the world is just medicate, pills,
Hmm.
and it makes me crazy. And I think
Hmm.
things are overprescribed, and people are over medicated, and I think it's spilling over onto our pets, and it makes me nuts. And I'll be well, why would Colleen, my wife, and I will be sitting there watching TV, and some new drug thing will come out, and then there's like half of the commercial are the side effects. And then
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, the over under, is it going to be 2 months or 3 months before the commercial, some attorney going, have you taken this drug and
Yeah.
have you grown a tail? We have a class S and lawsuit, and it's like, oh my
Right,
gosh,
right.
it's like it's like you have a drug commercial, then a lawsuit commercial, a drug commercial, Sarah McLachlan asking you
Mm.
for money, and then another lawsuit commercial. Yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, so the plant based is pretty exciting. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
Yep.
where do we find it? Where do we find it?
So you can find it on mybravepaws.com. And for all our listeners here today, if you use the code BRAVETALK, BRAVETALK, you get 25% off a bottle from mybravepaws.com, and they retail for $29.99 a bottle.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So
Hmm.
Brave Talk at bravepaws.com. And
Hmm.
Dr. Shannon, what all your two podcasts and Vet Candy? Um,
Hmm.
Vet Candy is like an online publication. Is it a physical publication as well?
Nope, it's all online. We try to save those trees and save that paper. So it is free to read online,
Fair play. All
digital.
right. So lots of great
Mhm.
pet and vet information. So
Absolutely.
tell us about your podcast and tell us about Vet Candy, where to find it.
Vet Candy IRL is for all my veterinary professionals out there that want to learn about interesting people in the space and new adventures and new entrepreneurs happening and different financial tips and things like that. We have experts from all over the industry, even into social media crisis management. So that's great. You go there for all of that. And Vet Candy also has amazing CE. We have CE on demand, and it's all free on myvetcandy.com. Our other side is mypetcandy.com. So that is for all my pet lovers and my animal lovers out there. Whatever you're searching for, we have amazing experts always writing articles and contributing to our magazines. And we have all the newest products and tips for your furry friends, your dogs, and your cats. We also cater to cats and cat lovers out there.
All right.
So it's not just dogs. And Simply Pets will have different experts for the pet industry, regarding behavior or adoption or integrating new pets in the household, training your pets to do X, Y, and Z. We have people coming on all the time with new updated information for our pet owners.
All right. Well, I'll get all those links from your people, and I'll put them down in the comments, and so people can, because there's a lot of stuff. You got a lot of business happening.
There is. We have so many resources, and I'm so excited for more people to find out about them.
So we'll put that down there, and we'll get people connected with the Brave Paws, and we'll put that code down there as well, so people can take advantage of that offer you got going. And Dr. Shannon, thanks so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamie. I had such a fun time getting to know you and talking about Brave Paws on the show today.
Cool. All right. So animaltalkradio.com, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends. We appreciate it. Do all those podcast things in all the podcast places. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.